Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really high-stakes political decision. But we're not going to rely on gut feelings or political spin. Nope. We're going to solve it with a super powerful tool for rational thinking, and just a little bit of math.
So let's start with a question we've all faced, right? But for the person we're talking about today, it's not just any choice. We're talking about a decision where their entire career is hanging in the balance.
So, meet Congressman Smith. Here's his problem. He personally believes in repealing this big healthcare act. The thing is, a lot of his voters back home, they're totally against it. This sets up that classic conflict. Do you follow your conscience, or do you do what it takes for political survival? What's the really rational move here?
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll lay out the congressman's tough choice in detail. Then we'll introduce the special rationality equation we're going to use to solve it. After that, we'll run the numbers for both of his options, compare them head-to-head, and then finally talk about what this all means in the real world.
All right, first up, let's dig into the numbers behind this dilemma. This is where we take a complicated, emotional problem and turn it into something we can actually measure. Okay, so check this out. This is where it gets really interesting. We can actually put a number on his preferences. See that plus 25? That's the best possible outcome for him. He votes his conscience and he wins. But look at the flip side. Losing is a minus 10 hit, and it's just as bad no matter which way he votes. The big trade-off is that voting against his beliefs gives him a much better shot at winning, a whole 60% chance.
So, we've got all these numbers. Now what do we do with them? How do we find a clear answer in all this? Well, we need a framework, and that brings us to the rationality equation. Now, expected utility sounds super academic, right? But don't worry, all it really is a systematic way to figure out which gamble is your best bet. It just combines what you want to happen with the actual chances of it happening.
And really, it's a pretty straightforward 5-step process. In fact, we've already done the first 4 just by setting up the problem. We know the choices, the outcomes, the values, and the probabilities. So now, it's time for the most important part, the calculation. All right, time to crunch some numbers. Let's start with option A, voting for the repeal. This is the choice that lines up with his personal beliefs.
So looking at the numbers for this option, we've got that big plus 25 value for a win, which has a 45% chance of happening. Now here's a really important point. We also need the probability of losing, and that's easy, right? It's just 100% minus that 45% chance of winning, which gives us a 55% chance of losing his seat.
So, this is the formula we're going to use. And it might look a little intimidating, but it's really just a weighted average. You just multiply the value of each outcome by its chance of happening, and then you add them all together. Simple as that.
Now we just plug in the numbers for voting for the repeal. So that's the plus 25 value of winning times its 45% chance, and we add that to the negative 10 value of losing times its 55% chance. And when you do the math, what do you get? 5.75. All right, remember that number. Lock it in. That's the score for option A. Okay, 1 down, 1 to go. We have our first score. Now let's run the exact same analysis for his second option, voting against the repeal. This is the one that goes against his beliefs, but remember, it has a better chance of getting him reelected. And for this choice, you can see the trade-off so clearly, can't you? The value he gets for winning is lower. It's only plus 15 this time. But his probability of actually winning is much higher at 60%. That leaves a 40% chance of losing his seat.
Okay, so let's plug these numbers into our formula. We've got the plus 15 value times its 60% probability, plus that same negative 10 value for losing times its 40% probability.
And the number we get is exactly 5. A nice round 5.0. That's our score for option B.
Okay, so there we have it. We have our 2 scores, 5.75 for voting for repeal and 5.0 for voting against it. Time for the final showdown. Putting them head-to-head, it couldn't be clearer, right? Voting for repeal has the higher score. It's 5.75 versus 5.0.
And if you're a visual person, this bar chart just makes it pop. The answer is obvious. The rule here is simple. You always go with the option that has the higher expected utility. And this is the big reveal, the key insight here. The rational choice, based on his own values, is to vote for the repeal. And that's true even though it gives him a lower chance of getting reelected. Why? Because the value he places on that win is so incredibly high that it outweighs the extra risk. Rationally speaking, it's the better bet form.
But hold on. We've got our quote-unquote rational answer. So what does this actually mean in the messy, complicated, real world of politics? Let's unpack that for a second. This right here gets to the absolute heart of it. This whole expected utility thing, it's not a moral compass. It's not telling the congressman what's right or wrong. Think of it like a mirror. It just reflects the most logical path based on the values and beliefs that he put into it. It's a tool for helping you achieve your own goals.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. This tool doesn't just solve a hypothetical math problem. It gives us a brand new, powerful lens to understand the hidden math, the personal values, and the high-stakes gambles that our leaders are making every single day.